What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Raw and Relentless. I got my friend Tom on. Tom, how you doing? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience what you're all about?
My name is Tom Kubiniec. I'm president, CEO, founder of SecureIt Tactical. In the military, we're the primary supplier of weapon storage systems and armory design services to most of the U.S. military units, and we do a lot of foreign fighting forces. And then in consumer products, we do a line of modular fast access gun safes based on our 20 years of military armory experience. And it's been going gangbusters. We are twice listed in Inc. magazine's fastest growing companies in America. I was strictly a defense contractor for like 16 years. Went into consumer products 2016. Consumer products is now 80% of the business. So it's really, that's a side of the business that's really growing quickly.
And so how long has the business been around?
SecureIt started as a brand in 2001.
Okay.
I had a company called Greenline Data, and SecureIt was just a brand. And as it started to gain traction, I ended up spinning it off as its own company in 2008, and I sold Greenline Data, my previous business, in 2010.
Wow. And you were in the military, I assume?
I was not. I graduated high school. I was playing guitar a lot in school. I played in bands. I was playing in bars when I was 16, and I became a heavy metal guitar player. I played in bands all over the Northeast. I played 8 hours a day. In 1984, Guitar Player magazine, a writer there heard one of my demos, and they did an article on me as one of the best unknown guitar players.
Wow.
Out there. I played a lot. And I packed up, moved to Hollywood, and was ready for this monster rock star career. And I developed chronic tendonitis. And at the moment when everything was happening, it blew up. And my career was over before it ever really started.
Oh, my God. Wow. Dream was a bust then.
It really was. However, that's all I did. I took a job telemarketing typewriter ribbons because they would hire anybody. And I was so bad at it, they moved me to a non-sales position because the guy liked me. I was a horrible salesman, but I had to do something, and I didn't want to just sit and make, $6 an hour doing BS work. So I quit that job. I took a straight commission job at a company that sold computer supplies, pure straight commission. And I was an independent contractor, and I immersed myself in the world of sales and said, I'm either going to sink, swim, I'm going to live, I'm going to die, but I got to do something. And over the next 2 years, I became a very good salesman. And just about 2 years after I started that job, I quit with two other people, and we started our own company in a little apartment in a really bad neighborhood in Panorama City in the San Fernando Valley. A little telemarketing company, just three of us. Our offices were cardboard boxes. We show up in the morning. It was their apartment, pull out our boxes and leads, and just started selling. And 3 years later, we had 18 sales reps, had an office, had a nice little business going. And it was just a crazy world. We had no idea what we were doing. We just kept moving forward. I sold to my partners, went off on my own with Greenline Data in 1994. And doing the same thing. I got into the internet. I taught myself HTML and started writing websites and all sorts of websites. And this is before Google. Yahoo was the major player. And a couple of the sites I did one was taperack.com, which back in the day, companies would have these computer systems. You back everything up on tape.
Yep.
And the tapes are not high capacity. So big companies would have thousands of these backup tapes.
Yep.
And they had to be stored and organized in a way that they were easily retrievable. So there were these big metal racking systems. TapeRack.com, in the early days of the internet, did very well, and we became one of the largest sellers of tape racks in the country. The HIPAA laws came out with, or all the hospitals had to lock up patient data, and that was a big change.
Yeah.
And so I created SecureLaptopStorage.com, PoweredLaptopStorage.com, HospitalLaptopStorage.com, HIPAA Security, all these websites related to that, and cross-linked them all back when you could do that sort of thing. And we became one of the largest sellers of secure laptop storage units. This was late 90s, early 2000. And that's when a guy called me and he said, "Hey, Tom, can you store an MP5? I'm like, "Sure." "What's an MP5? And I'm thinking it's a little computer. And he goes, "It's a little submachine gun." I started laughing. I'm going, I said, "I think we can." We talked for about 20 minutes. I said, "Give me a week." I started doing some research very quickly, came across a lot of references that the military was really struggling with weapon storage because they were transitioning from the M16, a standard 39-inch rifle, to the M4, which is a adjustable, flexible, modular weapon system. They're very configurable. All the racks they had didn't work. Mm-hmm. So I said, "You know what, this is really cool." At that point, I'd never owned a gun.
Wow.
And we just started. I called the guy that made my laptop cabinets. I was a Canadian company. I said, "Steve, I got a crazy idea for you. Weapon racks." He started laughing. He said, "I'm working with the Canadian government. We're already working on it." So he and I shared notes, and we came up with a line of weapon storage cabinets. And I was a dealer of his product line in the U.S. And we did that for several years as we kind of got our feet wet. And then eventually I developed and patented my system, the SecureIt Tactical, a weapon storage platform, which I patented in 2008. By 2011, we were the primary supplier to the U.S. military. And just kind of took over that. It's a niche market, but we own it.
Well, as they say, riches are in the niches.
It was crazy. I'm a pilot. I had a plane back then. I was flying all over the Northeast, and things were going gangbusters. And then sequestration hit, and that was the forced military cutback. Sequestration was put in place by the Congress. They said, if we don't balance the budgets by this year, we're going to have forced military cutbacks that were so severe, they figured with cutbacks this severe, I'm sure in 6 years we'll balance the budget. Well, they kicked it down the can.
What year was that?
That was 2013. It was in the Obama years. This had nothing to do with Obama. This had to do everything with Congress.
Yeah.
They didn't pass a budget. Sequestration hit, and we were decimated. I mean, we are a vibrant company. We were busy. We were just cranking. I went almost 9 months without getting a single order, a single sale. And, I'm making payroll, making rent. I got just bleeding cash. I ended up laying off most of my staff, selling off. I sold a plane. I mean, I was down to where my wife and I were going to sell our house and buy a very inexpensive little farmhouse because I was out of money.
Wow.
And but that's when we made the decision to go into consumer products, because we're like, no matter how good we were in the military, if Congress cuts off the budget, I'm dead in the water.
Right.
In consumer products, at least I can control my own destiny. So we took everything we knew and we came up with a line of fast access modular safes. And it was slow at first. They started in 2014. And then by 2016, we were getting traction. A couple of guys that we didn't even know did videos on a couple of our products. One of them went to 5 million views. And we just kind of blew up. And then we just kind of took off. We went from nothing in retail to about 18 million in about 3 years.
Wow.
And it was a really good run. And COVID happened, and we actually got very busy in COVID. We did very well. And now today we are rebranding the company right now. We're making a lot of changes, and we're going to launch a new brand March 31st, end of the first quarter. This last fourth quarter was sales records. We've had our best months, best quarters ever. This summer, we will make a formal announcement that our Agile Model 52 gun safe is now the number one selling gun safe in America. So it's we kind of fly under the radar screen a little bit. We want to change that.
I have so many questions now because that story is amazing. Well, first one is now what percentage of your revenue is consumer versus government?
We're about 86% consumer.
Okay.
So the government sales have been very flat. It's been a challenge. We do most of the business. They're not spending a lot of money. That may change. We did a $8 million project at Okinawa that, because of COVID, ended up taking us 4 years. But that project is it's called the Armory of the Future. And we worked with the master gunnery sergeant there and really did a unique system. And now the Marine Corps wants to roll that out across the Marine Corps. That's about $250 million in business probably over 8 years.
Just for you or just in general?
Just for us.
Whoa.
Again, it's a huge possibility. Is it going to happen? We don't know. We don't control the purse. We don't. There is a need, and they love what we do. So that's an opportunity that there's not a lot we can do right now. We're waiting for them to move through some contracting legal processes about how they list our products within their ordering system. And that's going to take probably another 3 to 4 months, and then we'll know where we stand. I mean, we may not get it all, but we're going to get a chunk of it.
So my next question is, as the Department of Defense budget increases, they spend more money, the rule of thumb is usually when the world's at war is when the money is made, right? Because that's when the government is always spending money. So do you think that the more we are out there fighting, it helps your business?
No, it's for us, it's kind of the opposite. Because we're facilities. We fall under the FF&E fixtures, lights, fixtures. So if America's deployed, if America's at war, we don't do, downrange, they don't use my product. We build like Connex boxes. We build rapid access systems for some of the like Delta units and the Special Forces guys. But big armory work kind of goes away. When everybody's home, like right now, we're at a point where facilities needs attention. The military hasn't spent any money on housing, on the bases, on the armories right now. The bulk of the armories are still have my old competitors' products. And when we got into this in 2008, the bulk of the armories had already been done by my competitor. Those racks are now 5 years past their useful life, and they're old and they're in bad shape. So we're at a point now where the military has to go back in and redo these armories. And we are the pros from Dover. We're the go-to guys when this happens. But again, we can't control the numbers. We can't control the money.
Yep.
And we've had some big projects that we're involved with. All of a sudden, I'm sorry, we lost our funding. They're putting it towards housing. They're putting it towards this. And that's the nature of government work. I mean, at our level, we're small guys. If you're dealing with $1 trillion contracts, you may have political clout. But for what we do, it's a strategy of we hope the money is there. And you can't run a business that way. That's why we focus. I mean, for the size of the company now, I've got 2 people that manage the military side of the business. And then logistics takes up. There's some people on my logistics side if they're shipping stuff, but the retail side of the company is where the bulk of the staff is directed.
Is most of your sales U.S. or do you do worldwide?
In the military side, we build armories all over the world for foreign forces. On the consumer products, it's almost all U.S. based. We do a chunk of business in Dubai, in the Middle East. We do some in the South Pacific. Not much. Shipping is tough. It's a challenge. We're looking at that. It's setting up a distributor where we can just move whole containers of products to certain areas of the country. But the U.S. market is so big, and we're still a tiny player in the U.S. That's
really?
Where we're focused.
You're the largest producer of this, but you're still the tiny player.
We're not the largest producer. We have the number 1 selling safe. And I'm going to caveat that. It's a great marketing statement, and we're going to get a lot of marketing out of it. My competitors change their models. They're constantly changing what their safes are. And they're not, the actual gun safe hasn't changed in 50 years. But they change the paint, they change the lettering, and they're trying to show that they're upgrading. Our Model 52 cabinet has been on the market for 9 years. And we've made some lock up some tech upgrades to it, but it's still based on our military system. So that one safe's been on the market for almost 10 years. And that's why we can claim that's the number one selling safe in America. I mean, we're still, from a market share standpoint, we're probably 8%, 7-8% of the U.S. market.
Wow. So you are a small percentage overall.
Yeah. And
so there's definite room for growth.
Yeah, and we're looking at possible hyper growth. And if you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point, he talks about this, and we fit the profile. Then the other one is Simon Sinek talks about it. We're a very different, innovative, radically different approach to storing and securing firearms. So most consumers look at us as that's new, that's different. Innovative and early adopter buyers will buy our product. The mass market typically doesn't start buying a new or different product until you're about 11%, 10 to 11% market penetration. That's when there's enough people, enough early adopters have it, where the mass market says, yeah, I got 2 friends. Yeah, it must be good.
Yeah, the word of mouth starts going. And,
right.
Yeah.
So as I always tell everybody, we're going to fight and claw to 35 million, and the market's going to chase us to 120. So that's the scenario that I'm working towards.
That's great.
And it's been a lot of fun. It's funny. I mean, people would be surprised, but we became the largest seller of weapon storage systems to the U.S. military in 2011. I bought my first firearm in 2010. And when we made the decision to go into consumer products, I realized that I can't just run a company. That's what my competitors do. And I actually have a decent-sized gun collection. I'm an avid hunter now. I've done training classes all over the country. So I've become very proficient. I'm a very good long-range shooter, decent with a handgun. I train a lot. I shoot a lot, because if I'm going to run a company in this industry, we have to be authentic. And my competitors most of my competitors are owned by venture capital or private equity, and they're just detached. And, we try to hire a former military, or, you give me a kid who's a scout and 4 years in the military, I'll take that over 4 years of college.
Oh, yeah.
And
I say that all the time. I mean, real world experience is far beyond college experience.
No, we even, we were running ads. We were hiring, I think it was a marketing person. It was a high pay. It was a 6-figure position. And I read the ad, and I had my head of ops, and I'm looking at this ad, and they've got, want 4-year master's degree, boom, boom, boom. And I'm reading through it. I go, why? Why are you asking for a college degree? Well, Tommy, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, why? And I kept asking why. And finally, she stopped and she goes, what? I said, Dad, look, last I looked, I own the goddamn company. And I'm the only one here that didn't go to college. We don't ask, because you know what? I don't care. I just don't care. And we actually have a list of schools now that we would not hire from. We would not consider hire. I don't want the baggage. I don't want the mindset that these kids are bringing.
Yeah.
Out of some of these Ivy League schools. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I agree. I get it.
That
is quite a colorful story, Tom, that you go from wanting to be a heavy metal guitarist, you're a badass guitarist, to data storage, now to gun storage. That's like one side of the spectrum to the other.
Well, it's as I tell my kids, I've told others, is I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I just, I talk to my kids about it and say, guys, look, because they're all, my kids are just coming out of college. They're unsure of their future. And I said, guys, just keep moving forward and keep turning stones over. Yeah. I said, guys, I had no idea I was going to be here when I was your age. I had no idea where I was going to be in 10 years. I just kept turning over stones and pursuing things that I thought were cool. The internet, I became a pretty decent player in the tech side of the internet with computer storage and all these racking systems. I just thought HTML was cool in the early days. I've not stayed current. I know I can write HTML. I can do some database work, but I can't program in modern language. But at the time, I thought, this is so cool. I want to learn this. So I did. And then I wanted to learn defense, military contracting. So we did. And then consumer products was a steep learning curve. We made a ton of mistakes, but we learned it. So, what's next? I don't know, but I'm still turning over rocks looking at neat. I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
But this isn't what defines me. I mean, it is right now, I guess. But I look at life. Picture this. It's the end of your life. You die, and you end up in this place with a panel of people, and they all look at you, and they simply say, "We gave you the gift of life. What did you do with it?" And that's kind of what I think about, trying to make the most out of every day. What it's a magical place that we all live, and I don't want to miss a moment of it.
Have you ever seen that movie with it's got Meryl Streep and what's his name? Curly-haired guy. But that's basically the premise of the movie, where they die and then they've got to go in front of a panel of judges and they review their life. And if they did well in their life, and when they mean well, not financially, but just like fully live their life, they were able to move on. If they didn't, then they would have to go back and redo it.
Yeah, it was that the guy he's annoying in like every role he's ever in, but he actually was okay in that one.
Yeah, I find him funny.
Yeah.
But that was a great flick. And you're right. It's kind of like, what if that's what it is at the end, where you're like...
We don't know, but I don't, it's funny. We did some renovations on our house and built this screened-in porch into a really nice den with a fireplace. We decided to get a TV. I haven't owned a TV in almost 20 years.
Really?
We figured that wall has to have it. So we have a TV. I'm still not sure. I don't watch TV. We have one, and occasionally we'll put a movie on or something. But even my kids, I can't sit in a chair and just look at this thing on a wall. It's just crazy.
So what do you do when you go home then?
I still play guitar a lot.
Okay.
I restore and I build vintage cars, and I'm building I'm going to Bonneville next August for a run at the Class J land speed record.
Really?
With a 1955 Elmquist Sabre, which is a unusual little car that there's 3 of these cars in the world. I happen to have 2 of them. They're not valuable. They're just cool. So Class J is a sports car with a 750cc or smaller motor. That's a tiny engine. Nobody's run this class since the 1950s. They haven't made a car like this since the 50s. So I've got this little Sabre. The chassis it's a Curtis K500 IndyCar chassis, and I've got a Suzuki GSX 750 motor with a big turbo on it. We're 420 horsepower. So the record for that class is like 115. We're going to do about 220.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my stupid, pointless project that I just want the experience.
What's the weight of the car by the time it's all said and done?
It's going to be, it's actually, the car is very lightweight, but we're at the roll cage, the safety systems are heavy. And then for a cooling system, we're carrying 160 gallons of water in 2 tanks, and we're just circulating water. We need weight. Unlike a race car, a land speed car, you need weight because traction is hard on the salt, and you don't want any lift in the car. You don't want to get airborne. Right. So we're carrying, the car is going to actually go out for its size. I mean, it's a tiny car. It's going to go out at probably 2,500 pounds.
That's light.
Which, I have a street version of that car that is 1,100 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So it's really light. It's a tiny little car.
Well, a Shelby Cobra is right around that, like about 2,000 pounds, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's dramatically larger than the car I'm talking about.
Oh, really? So it is a tiny car.
Yeah. It is a tiny, tiny car. And my little street car is we built this car. We kind of found it and saved a piece of history. But the Sabre is the car that started the American kit car industry. It's the very first car ever marketed with the idea that you could build your own sports car. And this is the only known road-going example. I got a class award at Amelia Island with the car 2 years ago, that's like the number 2 car show in the world. And it's a really, really cool little car.
What is it called again? What kind of Sabre?
It's Elmquist, ALMQUIST, Elmquist Sabre. If you Google search it, you'll see pictures of my car. It's a blue car. And
okay, yeah, I know. I've seen this car. Yep.
That is so it's and then the racer version is similar, but so that's, I mean, I do that. I work on cars. I've got a 500-acre, we call it the SecureIt Ranch. It's a hunting property. We're actually building a log cabin, a big house out there right now. And I spent a lot of time out there on a tractor, putting in roads.
This is in the Northeast?
Yeah, it's in the foothills to the Catskill Mountains.
Oh, wow.
And I'm up at 5:30 in the morning in the summer. I'm out there making roads, making trails. It's available to the employees of SecureIt as a retreat. And we're going to build a really nice log cabin home with a great room with a big fireplace, and just have a place that people can go with their families and spend some time. Great views. You're far enough away from everything, where incredible stars. It's just really a nice place. But you've got restaurants in 20 minutes. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. I want to get that done this next year. And it's
So you're busy. You're going nonstop.
I try to. Yeah, it's I was an avid golfer for many years, and my tendonitis, which I had under control, came back to 3 years ago with a vengeance. I've not swung a golf club in 2.5 years, and I've had a lot of other health issues that popped up related to it. So I went pure carnivore diet 2 years ago, and then I developed my own product. I developed a trigger therapy device for treating chronic tendonitis, and it actually works. It works really well. I've got an engineer who has my prototype, and I'm going to get a patent on it, or I'm going to market that with a video series, because there are so many people with chronic tendonitis in their arms, and the medical profession has it wrong. They treat chronic the same way they treat acute tendonitis.
Yep.
They're radically different. And the treatment for one, if they use acute tendonitis treatment on chronic tendonitis, it's going to result in you needing surgery. It's bad.
Oh, I agree 100%.
So I figured this out just by taking a deep dive and spending a lot of time. I treated one of my arms and not the other. So I had to do it. So my left arm is way ahead of my right arm in terms of recovery. But once I started getting results, I said, holy cow, this is working. So I started treating both arms. Pretty simple. It's a simple process, but you got to do it every 2-3 times a day, and then getting back into weight workouts. And I'll be golfing this summer, and I should be back. Really funny story. The drummer of my very first high school band, this is late 70s, he called me. He said, Tom, now he was a kid. He was in 8th grade at the time. He's a good drummer. He said, I'm turning 60. Let's get the band together for a concert. So we got that. I got our bass players out in Colorado, the other guitar players in Buffalo. And he called everybody, and everybody's like, hell yeah. So we're going to get back together and do the original set of music that we did the very first time we played at a high school called the Rock Showcase. It's like some Kiss, Tom Petty's, Ted Nugent. That's
awesome.
It's gonna be a riot. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Did you notice your inflammation and tendonitis diminish when you went on the carnivore diet?
Yes. In fact, it's I had a lot of more serious health issues. My liver was failing. My blood pressure was through the roof. I had a lot of joint issues that were my back was getting really bad. And I had a conversation with my wife at one point, and I said, honey, we've got to get out and do the stuff we want to do, because at the rate I'm going in 5-10 years, I'm not going to be able to travel. And the medical profession had no answers for me other than more pills.
Yeah.
And I went pure carnivore. My wife was in tears. She's like, you're going to kill yourself. You can't just eat meat. I said, honey, the world's not going to change in 90 days. I've got a meeting with my doctor in 90 days. We're going to do full blood work. And 90 days in, he did my blood work, and he was blown away. He's like, all my levels were normal or working back to normal. And 2 years into it, I'm a different person. I'm in better shape now than I was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just because I've dealt with inflammation. I did a genetic test. I pulled my genetics and then sent it to a lab, and I've genetically got very high markers for inflammation.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I deal with. And going pure carnivore, arthritis is pretty much gone. I've lost a lot of range of motion in my hands. There's some jazz. I played in jazz bands and swing. There's some stuff I have a really hard time playing. But I preach the word of carnivore diet. It's got a lot. It's controversial. Oh yeah, there's a lot of BS out there, but I tell everybody, try it for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and it's easy. Yep. I do a New York strip for lunch, small one, and a ribeye for dinner. Or if I'm traveling, I do one. Like if I do one big ribeye, I'm good for 24 hours, and I'm not hungry. Mm-hmm. It's it's for me. It's been amazing. It's I'm 63, and I've got more energy. I was out at my farm the other day. I've got an F-250. It's my farm, just a beater truck, but I love it. I was up in the back of the truck doing something, and I stepped on the side of the bed and just jumped off. And it's a lifted truck. It's probably 4.5 feet up in the air, 5 feet in the air. I just jumped off, and a buddy of mine who's my age is out there with me. He's like, Jesus. He goes, if I did that, I'd be in the hospital for a month. It hadn't even occurred to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I was at a point 2 years ago where I had to be very careful with steep stairs. I mean, anything where I was doing motions, twisting, my back was in really bad shape. And I didn't do anything other than change my diet. I work out pretty aggressively now.
Yeah.
I couldn't before because of the inflammation. So it's been good. It's
I started a carnivore diet last January as well. I do a modified carnivore diet now, but I will tell you, like, anytime I deviate, like if I have some pasta or some baked goods, because I love chocolate chip cookies or brownies, I immediately feel it in my body. I could feel my body like tense up and inflame.
Yep. It's
and you're right. I felt absolutely great when I did the modified carnivore. So, I mean, the only difference is I'm having fruit and honey. But other than that, it was all steak and eggs.
Yep. I do. My one thing that I'll do is blueberries. I freeze blueberries like ball bearings, pour heavy cream on them, and kind of make a little ice cream. But I'll tell you what, my daughter made homemade chocolate chip cookies. And I jumped in hard with those. And boy, you do feel it right away.
So with your tendonitis, have you ever looked into PRP or stem cell?
I did. I mean, I tried to. The problem is I couldn't find a place that I would trust. You can't do it in the U.S. You've got to go overseas.
Yeah.
And
well, the PRP locally.
Yeah, it's real mixed results on that one.
I will tell you, I had it done in both of my shoulders because I had tore my rotator in both shoulders.
Yep.
And the doctor's like, look, you're just too young for me to do surgery. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I said, well, and before I had met him, I looked into PRP, and I said, well, what if we try PRP? And he's like, well, normally I do PRP. This was, like 12, 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. He goes, normally I only do PRP for elbows. He's like, but if you want to give it a shot, the insurance isn't going to cover it, but if you're willing to pay out of pocket, I'll do it. Yep. And we did. And I was great. It took about 3 weeks, and I got full range of motion. I was able to lift my arms over my head, and I feel great. And in fact, like I recommend PRP to anybody and everybody if you can't afford to go get stem cells. But I do agree with you. If you want stem cells, you've got to go to either Colombia or Mexico or Dubai.
I have a heart. I reached out to the place that Rogan talks about.
Yeah.
And and they were so aggressively closing me on coming there that it just got my spidey sense up. Like, I'm not going to do this. My wife would go crazy if I told her I'm going to go to Tijuana and have some guy inject me. She would go nuts. But
yeah,
I may look at that. The problem with my elbows, my tendonitis is it's at all sides. I've got golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. It's at every single part of the joint. It's not just one spot. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I just had my shoulder. I had a partial tear, which I was managing with just through working out and health. And I was fine. And then I was skiing with my son in May. We did a father-son trip to Europe. We were skiing in Austria, and I completely tore my shoulder apart.
Oh, man.
And so now I'm back. I had the surgery in August, and I'm not 100%, but I'm almost. It's coming back. I feel it feels better than it has in 10 years.
Right.
So I'm getting that. But, yeah, the stem cell is amazing. BPC 157.
Yeah, the peptide.
And that's now banned, I think.
Yeah.
And
they've got a workaround. They've been able to like change the chemistry a little bit to where.
Oh, is it? I have not looked at it yet. I used to do that.
They call it something else now, but it's too early to tell whether or not it's legit or not. I mean, you can still do TB 500 as well,
Right. Is
But
that's not banned? It's not part of
no,
the
TB500 is not, but BPC 157 is.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's just pharmaceutical bullshit.
it is. It is.
The
Tom,
but
I want to do a part 2 with you. Can we do a part 2? I want to continue this conversation. We had some technical difficulties that we were
yep.
25 minutes late on this, but I definitely want to continue. Can we schedule a part 2 sometime in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed the conversation and love to continue. It's great
Yeah,
topics.
let's do it. Tom, thanks for coming on, and we'll do a part 2.
All right, thanks a lot.
So now we're on part 2 here.
Part 2 of Fun and Frolic. We are post Christmas.
Yes.
And, which in my house,
how was your Christmas, by the way?
It was very good. I've got all my kids are they're all early 20s. I've got my oldest lives in London, my youngest is in West Virginia University, and my middle is in SCAD, Savannah, Georgia. And they all managed to live by themselves, live on their own successfully. Yet when they come home, it's like butler and maid service. I mean, it was just like, guys, I come down in the morning, I'm like, no, it's,
that's funny how that works, right?
Just shit everywhere. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, but no, it's, as kids get older, Christmases get a lot simpler, which I like. I prefer things to stay fairly simple in life.
Yeah.
But things are rocking. I'll tell you what, we killed it this fourth quarter business wise, just killed it.
That's great.
Yeah. Which is, for those business wise talking points, we went through, Inc. magazine's fastest growing companies twice in 3 years. And then we flattened out, and I made an error, a hiring error in my marketing department, and hired a guy who's a great guy and had him build a pretty good sized marketing team, and it just didn't work. The view they had of what our product was and how it worked was just wrong. And I let it go too long. And so we were just doing dumb discounting promos and crazy things to try to drive sales. And I ended up last year firing the entire marketing team. Just one day I said, this is it. And I brought on our new director of marketing, said, look, and he knew he had a job to do. I said, look, we're ending all this crazy discounting, all this bullshit, and we're going to reset to who we are as a company. We're going to take a hit to do it. And first quarter of this year, we were 45% off of our same time sales the previous year. And then coming into June, we were catching up. And then from June to September, we were just a little bit ahead of last year. And fourth quarter, we were 45% ahead of last year.
Wow.
Yes. And right now,
you sold the shit out of stuff this fourth quarter.
Yeah. So December, we're pushing 50, probably going to close. It's going to slow down a little bit, somewhere between 50 and 65% ahead of last year, depending on how this last week, whether it's really slow or we crank. So yeah, and not doing all the crazy discounting, our margins are a lot higher. So we're coming into next year. Our plan is, minimal acceptable growth is 20%. I'd like to see 35.
So what did you do differently that wasn't working? So what is working now versus what wasn't working?
It's really going back. It's not viewing our product as a commodity. It's a premium brand product. We're a new innovative product, and the people that buy our product are still early adopters and innovative buyers. The people that stand in line for the first iPhone or the first cool piece of tech, those are early adopter buyers, and that's still where we live. And just representing the product, not based on sales and, buy now, but based on actual performance, based on problem solving, posing questions to people about the challenges surrounding firearm ownership, safety, security, access. We do things that gun safes just can't do, and focusing on those. And it's really working. People like what we're doing. People who use our product, our greatest advertiser is our customer. We know that the bulk of the people who come to us for the first time is because a friend of theirs had our product.
Well, what's also interesting about your product is it's a one-time purchase product, right? It's not like a recurring service. People
It's not.
buy.
It's not a service. It's more than one time, but it is. It can be. Some people just buy a safe from us, and they never need to buy another one.
Hmm.
The gun safe industry, their talking point is buy the biggest safe you can afford. You're always going to need more space. You can grow into it.
Mm,
You know, me coming from more of a military armory background, saying that's just nuts. Buy what you need. You can always buy another one. We sell
mm,
much smaller modular safes that people can locate in discrete areas of their home. A big gun safe has to go in your basement, or it goes in like a den as a showpiece. And, we think that's crazy.
mm,
Small, secure cabinets, locking guns in closets, and just in discrete locations. Again, people come to my home, they would never know that I own a firearm
hmm.
because just of how we do it. So our customers typically come in, they'll buy one of our Agile. That's our number one product, Agile Model 52. It's a 6-gun safe holds a lot of like handguns and accessories and other gear. They'll buy that, or that with a little ammo safe above it. And then they come back and they'll add as if they get more gear, they want to do a little more organization, they'll keep adding components. And being that's modular
Hmm.
and scalable, you can
Hmm.
just add stuff over years. So we find probably 65-70% of our customers come back and buy again.
Mm.
But it's not reoccurring. We're not
Yeah.
signing people up. It's not that kind of a thing.
What's usually the length of time before they come back? Those 65 to 70%. How long before they come back again to buy again?
It's within a year. About
Oh,
6 months.
really?
Yeah, 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 usually. And that's usually the cycle is they figure their stuff out. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can get them. Those aren't numbers I look at all the time.
Hmm.
Um, but I would think that it's usually they got their whole storage solution dialed in within 18 months.
Hmm.
Um, Now we're gonna be introducing handgun storage first quarter of '25. That's something we've not done yet, and,
Hmm.
that'll be a big push for a lot of our customers. I mean, all of our current customers would benefit from our little modular handgun safe. So that's an addition to the materials you already have from us, and if
So
we'll roll them out. Yeah.
if you're looking to protect your home,
Mhm.
what and you're a first time gun owner, purchaser, what do you recommend?
Um, First and foremost is training for the firearm. Don't just go buy a firearm. Don't listen to the guy behind the store counter. That's not the way to
Hmm.
do this. Do a little research locally, find the best firearms instruction or training center or instructor in your area, or talk to a few, find the one you like, and work with an instructor to become very familiar with guns and also figure out what fits your hand best, what works
Mm,
best, because everybody's different. And the best handgun for home defense is the one that fits you the best.
mm,
So lots of training, practice, and then if you have just one gun, and that's kind of what we're introducing is a modular small handgun safe, fast access. It'll mount next to your bed. You can mount in a drawer, so you got close access at night when you're sleeping. But then let's say it's a single mom. She gets up in the morning, a 2-story house. It's a modular safe. It'll unsnap from the mount. And now you can go down your kitchen and snap it into the mount in your kitchen. So the handgun, I mean, you have the ability to take one handgun and keep it where you are um,
mhm,
throughout the day. The best, I mean, you want to look at security in your home. The worst place to store anything of any value is a master bedroom, master bathroom, master bedroom closet. Thieves go to a home,
mhm,
master bathroom, master bedroom closet. That's where they're going first. If they find something, they take it and they leave. If they don't find anything of value, they'll hit home office den and they're typically gone. So when we
mhm,
look at gun storage, a lot of people like to keep guns in their bedrooms. We say just one in a small, fast access safe. And then for our Agiles, if you got rifles or shotguns, closet next to your front door. Our little Agile safe is designed to fit in closets like that. It's a great place. Thieves ignore closets. If you're worried about security, thieves are never going through closets. So all of our safes fit in closets. I put a small safe in a kitchen. Kitchen's a very secure room. If you got a lot of valuable jewelry, kitchen pantry is much safer than like a master bedroom. It might be inconvenient, but if you're concerned, thieves ignore kitchens. They're not trying to steal
interesting.
food.
Yeah,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of interesting when you peel the layers back of criminal behavior and what actually happens. We spent a lot of time with it. It lays out pretty clearly. We have what we call the principles of decentralized storage, which is instead of buying one great big heavy safe and stick it in your basement, buy our smaller modular lightweight safes. And we have a whole program for how to lay out your home if you truly want that level of security, or if you have a big gun collection, store them where it makes sense, as
Mm,
opposed to in the basement, back in a corner. But
right.
there's information on our website about, for people who are into that. But for just a single person, one gun, fast access, handgun safe. Um, and I would tell everybody biometric fingerprint readers are all the buzz. That's for convenience only. In a true life and death scenario, I would never rely on that because it's not what I would call never fail technology. If your hands are wet, it won't open. If your hands are dirty, it won't open. If you're wearing gloves, it won't open.
Mm,
If you're not getting a good read, it won't open. If somebody's broken into your home, our safes have biometrics for convenience, or if you've got somebody with you, you can open the safe without showing your combo. But we have a fast lock, which is our proprietary design, and the buttons are really large, more than twice the size of a normal safe, because we designed this so people who are under stress, somebody's broken into your house, you're in fight or flight mode. So now you've got tunnel vision, your hearing gets goofy, your vision gets really tight, your fine motor skills disappear. So our safe is big buttons, easy to see, so you can do it in the most stressful environments. Then we also have everybody, if you have my safe, you practice with your safe every night before you go to bed. If you got a safe next to your bed, practice the combination in the dark. Get it so you can just do it second nature, make it muscle memory.
yeah. Right.
And it's just like playing a musical instrument. You practice slow and perfect. After 35 days, it goes from conscious to subconscious, and now you own that routine.
Yep.
Um, and there's a ton of detail on our site about it, but it's for us, it's common sense. We don't see that coming out of the rest of the gun safe industry, but our common sense is based on building armories for the military for so long. We
Mhm.
are out of the retail space, so we never were exposed to it. And
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
background is not one of firearms. I didn't grow up with them, so
Right.
we just came into this uniquely with just a very different perspective, and it really worked out for us.
One of my bucket list items is, because you were talking about training, is I'd love to go out to, like, Terran Tactical, which is the same place that, like, Keanu Reeves trained for
Mhm.
John Wick and all of
Yep.
that stuff. That
Yeah,
stuff
those
is
are
so cool what they do.
It's I go out to Gunsight Academy. That's America's oldest and largest training center. We actually have a partnership with them. They're we call a secured experience center. All of our products are in their showroom.
Mm.
But they're both great places. I've done like they have a 5-day handgun class. And I'll tell you what, you may think you're good at this stuff. You take that class, like, holy cow.
Where are they
Um,
located?
they're Preston, Arizona, north. They're
Okay.
north, hour and a half north of Phoenix.
Okay.
Like all big training facilities, it's the middle of nowhere because they make a lot of noise.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a lot of the training, and I've done a lot of simunition and live fire type training. A lot of it is about decision making, and
Mhm.
anybody can practice and become a marksman with the gun. But it's decision making. Are you going to carry a firearm? That's a huge decision because
Yeah.
if you're going to carry a firearm, you've got you're carrying deadly force. But if all of a sudden you're in a scenario, you're going to decide, am I using this or not? Now, that decision could put you behind bars for the rest of your life, could kill innocent people. It could save the day, could save your life. There's so many, but again, it's a stressful situation. You got to make
Mhm.
smart decisions. So it's the training that involves decision making is, if you're going to conceal carry, if you're going to keep a gun at your home, um, become very proficient with it. And
Mhm.
practice some scenario training. What's it like to be in what size is your bedroom? What's the distance to the door? If you're home with no kids, you're going to stay in that bedroom. You're going to hunker down behind your mattress or in the back. You want to be in a point where you can a defendable point, um, and practice those distances. I would say try to, um, you know, try to practice in real world situations or try to simulate real world situations. It's not always easy.
Right.
But
I
practice like you train like you fight, I guess would be the term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've been watching the series Lioness. Are you familiar with that show?
I'm not.
Oh, such a good show. It's written by Taylor Sheridan, the same guy that wrote Yellowstone, and
Okay.
uh
Is
yeah,
it a Netflix or a
it's on Paramount.
okay.
And the premise of the show is it's got Morgan Freeman, Nicole Kidman, and Zoe Zeldana in it. And Zoe Zeldana is a CIA operative, and she recruits she recruits somebody out of the military to infiltrate, a couple of terrorist groups, right? Well, part of what they do with this training is they put her into the exact situation that you're talking about, where they're walking into a home and you've got to try and take out the perps in these various rooms. And she walked into the mock setup, and she's like, "Oh, this is like I'm in the Marines. This is no problem." But then they started putting in all of the, like you're talking about, all of the exterior environmental things that you don't think
Yeah.
about, noises and lights flashing, and other people in the room that are just civilians and all of that stuff. And she just like she failed on the first round because she was just so like
Yep.
distraught. But I mean, to your point, it's you don't think about that stuff when you're in your own home. You just think get a gun, and if somebody
Yeah.
comes in, fire and shoot. But that's there's
Well,
more
that's,
to it than that.
my very first, training class I did with my boys. I was down out of, with Gary Melton down at a Paramount Tactical, um, and it was a carbine class, but we had the final scenario was he had set up a scenario that we couldn't see it, where we had cover, we had bad guys, and there were civilians and good guys. And you
Mhm.
had to get through this thing, take out the bad guys. And I went through the whole thing. I'm really good shot with these guys. So boom, but I just worked through. I'm just like, man, I had a great time. I'm sure I did well. And he goes, how do you do? I said, I think I did pretty well, man. I was kind of on. He goes, you killed probably 3 to 5 civilians. And I'm just like, he goes, you never noticed because they'd set it up where there were bad guys are targets and good guys were different color. They had good guys behind the bad guys. And you assume a round's going to go through somebody. So I'm just like, it was such a wake up call for me. He goes, all right, now do it
Mhm.
again. All of a sudden, now your decision making, now all of a sudden, I'm just like, there's civilians and there's
Yeah.
bad guys.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, you're like, I can't take this shot. I gotta hide here. I gotta run. I have to. This is not a shot that is take. And that's the kind of stuff that, again, if you're going to carry a firearm, you need to train with that decision making at least quarterly, probably monthly. You really,
Right.
I believe a trained person who's armed makes everyone around them safer.
Mhm.
The bulk of gun owners don't get enough training.
That's with any skill, right? Because
Yeah,
it's a
I think so.
skill. You
Yeah.
have to keep practicing. It's just like, you play guitar, like I play guitar. I
Mhm.
If you don't keep up with it, you lose the tightness of that skill.
It does. I find with guitar, it comes back. I lose. I just get sloppy. Yeah, that I lose
Yeah,
that edge.
yeah,
There's that
yeah,
that the
yeah,
last 3% of cleanliness takes months to get back.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of like when you go see your favorite band, right? If they announce a tour, right, and you go see the first show, and then you go see the last show of that tour, they
oh yeah.
sound way better the last show.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a funny story. I got a call from my drummer from my high school band back in 1970. I graduated in 1980. We were playing in 77 to 81 probably. And
Hmm.
he was turning 60. He's having a big party. We're putting my high school band back together for one show in Batavia. We're going to do the original set of the original show we did at our high school. It's called the Rock Showcase. We were all kids. And they had a lot of local bands, and then we were the high school band, the kids.
That's
And
awesome.
it's gonna be really cool. We managed to get all the original members. You got guys flying in from the West Coast and stuff. So it'll be a five piece, 2 guitars, bass, drums, singer, and doing some Tom Petty, Judas Priest, some Kiss. Just the beauty of it is the songs that we played back then were really simple because we weren't that good. So
Yeah,
we
right.
should be able to get pretty tight on this stuff. We'll have 2 hours of practice probably the day before.
Yeah.
But,
Do you, how are your fingers holding up,
Uh,
playing guitar?
I've got bad arthritis, really bad, and it's been a
Right.
challenge. I've had tendonitis. In fact, before this podcast, I designed a treatment device for treating tendonitis, chronic tendonitis. I made a prototype a year ago, and it absolutely worked, and it really has got me pretty much cured. Now I'm making a new one that's far more adjustable. So I'm going to market it. I think
Hmm.
it's something that can help a lot of people. But arthritis in my hands, my particularly index finger, is I'm losing so much range of motion so quickly now. I will be not be able to play guitar within a year, um, unless I can change it. Now I went pure carnivore 3 years ago, and really my
Right.
arthritis was gone. It's come back, and with the holidays and everything going on, I'm not pure carnivore right now.
Yeah.
And something, whether it's a little bit of bourbon on the rocks, it's a little bit of pumpkin pie here that, I'm
Mhm.
not sure what it is, if it's sugar or if it's green plants, but right now my body's inflammation's through the roof. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And
That's
when
so
I'm
wild,
really
isn't it?
clean carnivore, um, I can go out and run 5 miles and I'm not stiff, I'm not sore. I can jump off the back of my truck. I feel like a little kid.
Yeah. It's so wild how you're more I mean, we talked about this, on part 1. I mean,
Mhm.
so many people that I've talked to or that I listen to or that I know that have done some variation of the carnivore diet. I mean, they fix so many of their issues with it.
It is really amazing, and I'm always shocked how many people I know that talk to me about it, and they've seen the transformation in me because I really had some pretty good health issues. I wasn't doing very well, and
Mhm.
I didn't feel good. I just kind of miserable. I wasn't. I just felt like crap all the time, and they see the change in me, and I see them struggling with these aches, pains, and knee problems, back problems, and chronic this and that. I'm
Mhm.
going, why don't you try? And they won't do it. It's
Yeah.
I got a guy. He just had triple bypass surgery. He's young. He's in his maybe early 50s, late 40s, and he's like, dude, you got to do this. He's looking at me. I'm eating fat. I'm eating
Mhm.
a really fatty steak and nothing else, and he's eating bread and carbs and dessert. And he looks at me like, Tom, you're gonna clog your arteries. I said, no. I said, it's not fat.
Mm-mm.
It's
That's a
sugar.
fallacy.
Right.
Yeah.
And but it's dogma. It is taught like dogma. And the whole,
Yep.
even the medical, my doctor was a
Mhm.
great guy. He's a distance runner, a health guy. He was like, you gotta have some vegetables. I'm like, why? They were killing me.
Mhm.
And he's like, I go, do
Mhm.
you have anybody my age who's got blood work that looks as good as mine? He goes, that's a good point. He's
Yeah.
fascinated with me, but they won't change.
No.
And people who actually do, uh, everybody who's made that change, their lives have been dramatically affected. And it's so
Agreed.
easy. It's so easy to do. People think I get sick of just eating meat. If you wait till you're hungry, you will never get sick of eating meat. But people eat 3 meals a day. Why?
Mhm.
There's no reason to
Mhm.
eat 3 meals a day. I eat 1 to 2 meals a day, and I wait till I'm hungry. So I typically eat a small steak at 11 in the morning and a larger
Mhm.
steak around 6 to 7 at night. If I'm gonna be
Mhm.
traveling, I'll do a 32-ounce steak, and I'm good for 24 to 36 hours. And
Mm.
I'm not hungry, and I'm not
Mhm.
tired. You don't get that,
Mhm.
that
Yep.
10 o'clock in the morning drag, the 3 in the afternoon drag.
Yep. Yep.
I'm I'm on, and then it gets about 8:30 to 9:30 at night, and I shut off. I'll be home, I'll be talking, all of a sudden she sees me, and she goes, "Go to bed, honey, you're done." And and I shut off really quick.
Do you eat any eggs or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I'll do some I've been told, like, I have not had time to do a lot of research lately, that eating a lot of eggs, if you deal with inflammation issues, can be a problem. I'll
Mm.
do, like, on the weekends and stuff for my lunch, my 11 o'clock, I'll do, like, I do a ground beef. Right now, I got a whole lot of elk in the freezer, ground elk. I'll brown, like, 2 pounds of hamburger and keep that in the
Mhm.
fridge. I'll just take a big scoop of that in a fry pan, crack 2 eggs in it, stir it
Yeah.
all up,
Yep.
and, that's lunch. Or if the wife and kids if they wanna do something, get sushi, if they're doing something else, I'll just whip that stuff together for a quick meal. It's actually, again, when you're hungry, it tastes fantastic. But
Yeah.
right when I
Yeah.
finish a big steak, and I had I did a standing rib roast for Christmas, so I had a 3/4 inch thick, huge piece of prime rib for, about an hour ago. And right now I'm just like, oh God, I could never eat another steak. 8 o'clock tonight, I'll be looking for a steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's we as a society put way too much on food. If you look at the popular TV shows, all these stupid cooking shows and stuff, um, it's such a big part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the social side of my family. When we're home, we sit down for a formal dinner every night,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't get crazy into food. I mean, if I'm home, if I'm alone, if I'm traveling, I eat to sustain my body and get it out of the way so I can get on with whatever I'm doing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, Americans as a whole, we are probably the most unhealthiest nation in the world. One, if
Yep.
not the top 5. We have the highest rate of diabetes, we have the highest rate of cancer, we have the highest rate of depression.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it, the majority of it stems from food and lack of activity, you know?
Yeah. It's
Um,
yeah, diet is huge on mental health. They're finding
Huge.
this out now, but the medical industry, doctor side, and then the pharmaceutical, that whole world
Oh,
is
man.
so arrogant and so stuck. I don't see it changing, but I do think there's gonna be I'm hoping a renaissance of food, a kind of a pushback from people. Just if people would just stop buying all the packaged crap, if they would just look at the label, and if they look at, like, they're buying half and half for their coffee, and they look at it,
Mm,
and it's got a bunch of ingredients that you don't know what they are,
mhm,
don't buy it.
mhm.
Just
Yeah.
don't buy it, because
Yep.
just because it's in a package on a grocery store shelf doesn't mean it won't ultimately kill you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And we are
I'm
in
really interested to see what RFK does.
Yeah, I'm too. I don't
I'm very
necessarily
interested to
believe in
see.
his politics, but I find him a fascinating guy. I'm really excited to have him get in there and kick some doors down if he can.
Yeah, I read a headline, just a headline. I didn't read the article, but there is some truth to it. I read a headline yesterday that was saying he plans on not allowing, because I guess that if you are on food stamps or WIC, um, you're allowed to buy pop
Oh,
with food
yep.
stamps.
Yes, you can.
So a government subsidized program, and you're allowed to buy this shit that's actually causing the health problems in the world,
Yep.
right? He wants to make that illegal, which I
Coke
think
and
is
Pepsi. One of 'em, I remember reading the article, wasn't that long ago, when they petitioned to get their soft drinks added to the list,
that's
and it was worth
crazy.
hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, and, yeah, it's just crazy. They put soda machines in schools. We actually got them soda machine removed from our school when my
Really?
kids were in middle school. Yeah, yeah. The parents got together and just said, "No, get this thing out of here,"
Yeah. No,
because
that's great.
a can of soda is a toxic level of sugar. Your body has
Mhm.
this amazing insulin system so that you don't die. But
Mhm.
what it's doing to your body, I mean, just cancer, number one cancer in America was from smoking, lung cancer, number one, all through the 60s and 70s. The bulk
Yep.
of cancer was smoking related. Well, for the
Mhm.
most part, smoking is pretty much over. So
Yep.
you'd think the cancer rate should drop dramatically, because nobody I know my age, I'm now in my 60s, when smoking issues, none of us ever smoked, yet the
Mhm.
cancer rate's actually going up.
Up.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
and you
because
know
we're
who's
just
buying
eating
all
poison.
of the food companies is all of the old tobacco companies
Well,
own
that's
all the food companies.
when did the food start getting bad? When they banned
Mhm.
advertising. I did some research on this about 2 weeks ago, because I'd heard it on it was a podcast I was listening to. They made a reference. So I started digging into it, 'cause I didn't want to talk about it if I didn't do my own research, but largest merger acquisition deals in the mid '70s was the cigarette companies buying the big food companies, and that's
Mhm.
when they came in and said, "How do we get people to wanna eat more of this food
Mhm.
we're making?" And that's
Mhm.
where they turned to the science of how do we give food to give humans a dopamine hit when they eat it? Why are there so many chemicals in Doritos? If you read the list of chemicals, it's unbelievable how much crap is in
Mhm.
Doritos. But when you know, or corn chips. If you put a bowl of corn on a table with spoons, somebody might have a little spoon of corn. Oh, it tastes good. You're not, okay. But you put corn chips on, and once you eat one, you walk by, you want to grab a second because you're
Yeah.
getting a dopamine hit pretty
Mm-hmm.
quickly when you eat a corn chip. And that's
Yep.
because of the science.
Yep.
And people are being manipulated and they're unaware of it. Um, and they still buy the crap. I don't get it.
Yeah, I always laugh when I'm at the grocery store and I look at what people have in their shopping
I know.
carts.
Yep.
It's like, man.
Well,
But
I'm checking out at Wegmans is our big fancy store. I've got um, a whole New York strip, the whole steak wrapped up, huge piece of
mhm,
meat. I've got cut
mhm.
steaks. I mean, I've got bacon, like a what is it, pork belly. I mean, I've got
Yeah.
probably. I mean, I go shopping for meat once a month. I spend $400 or $500, but I cut my own. And people are looking at me checking out like I'm nuts. Like
Mhm.
I said, I'm carnivore. I use meat, and they're like, that's crazy. And you know, I'm 6 feet tall, 168 pounds, pretty lean, pretty fit,
Yeah.
and they're 5'11", 270 of just
Yeah,
pop.
that's right. Right.
Or people with splotchy skin. If you have any of
Psoriasis.
psoriasis, any of
Yeah.
the eczema, any of those itchy, rashy things,
Mhm, mhm.
everybody that goes carnivore, gone.
Yeah.
Crohn's disease, pretty much
Mhm.
gone when they go carnivore. If you have diabetes, 100% of the people, this is Harvard's data, they did 2,000 people, they surveyed. 100% of the people with diabetes were off all medication when they went carnivore, whether type 1 or type 2. It
Mm.
absolutely works, but the medical community, they're still putting out articles that there's a dangerous new diet, oh, it's going to be
Mhm.
clogging of the arteries. No, I actually did the ultrasound on my carotid arteries. Um, I did one years ago, and I was, 87% open, which is good for a guy my age.
Mhm.
I did one after 2 years of carnivore, and they said it's 97. It's like you're clear. There's no buildup at all.
Wow,
I
went back went
actually,
the other way.
yeah, it's humans are designed. We're designed to eat fat. We get our energy from fat, not from carbs.
I
And
say
when
this all
we,
the time. If you look at, like, our grandparents, right? Our
yep,
grandparents used to cook with lard and
yep,
butter,
yep,
and that generation had the least amount of heart problems. It
absolutely.
wasn't until the sugar industry started pushing sugar
Yep.
that heart disease became the number 1 killer in America.
And it was the sugar industry actually paid for research to
Mhm.
show that butter and saturated fats were bad for you. And that's in the 70s when everything went to,
Right.
I can't believe it's not all the fake butter and all.
Yeah.
And then they realized trans fat is really
Trans fats
toxic.
was cancerous. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I know.
so people got to realize, look back 100 years, what people are eating. Look at
Yeah.
Japan. Japan has the longest life expectancy. They eat 60% more meat than we do.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
very protein centric, very low sugar. I travel in
Mhm.
China, Vietnam a lot,
High
and
salt too. High
yep.
salt. And
Oh
they
yeah,
and they
yeah.
don't have the problems with sodium like we do.
No, I have high blood pressure. I used to be on meds and low sodium diet, and I go low sodium and meds trying to keep my blood pressure. I take it every day, and I was still 140,
Mm.
138. And I went carnivore and back into regular working out, and and I eat a ton of salt, and my blood pressure is 130 over 82, which is fine.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
And but what's fascinating when you go low sodium, really, I tend to go overboard with things. So I said, go, okay, I'm cutting salt out. Holy crap, do you feel like shit? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
'cause
just your body needs human bodies run on electricity.
yep.
Without salt, electricity doesn't flow well. And
Right.
I was so I just was just felt out of it.
Yep.
And so sodium does decrease your blood pressure but it creates other unhealthy reasons. It doesn't treat the cause of why is your blood pressure high. It's not because you're eating too much salt. It's just something
No.
doctors can tell you that will lower it. But
Have you ever read the
carbs,
book,
sugar.
The Salt Fix?
Oh, I
The
haven't.
Salt
No.
Yeah, The Salt Fix, great book, and talks about this exact subject, and
Mhm.
basically, um, what he goes over is it's based off of a study that was done on one group back in, like, the '30s where They removed salt from these people's diet and blood pressure dropped.
Mhm.
And then they immediately said, okay, salt's the problem.
Yep.
But they didn't do a long-term study with this. And initially, your blood pressure will drop when you take salt out because the volume of your blood reduces. But then what happens is over time, your blood becomes more thick because it doesn't have the water and the sodium
Right.
to make your blood like smoother. And so now your blood pressure will go right back up. So you actually need that salt to be able to provide like lubrication and water and all of that stuff and viscosity for that blood to move through the body and the veins more fluidly.
Yeah, it's really interesting when yeah, it's such a huge thing to try to open up and process, and
Mhm.
so many people won't take the time to do their own research. It's not easy in America, and I tell everybody, if you wanna do medical research, get a VPN. I use ExpressVPN, which allows you to connect to the internet, at your
Yep.
home, but then I go to my VPN, I connect to the internet in either Netherlands or Australia, and I do
Mm.
medical research. And the data you get is so different. When you're in America, the pharmaceutical industry has just loaded tens of thousands of pages of nonsense to keep you in their world of telling you that these drugs are the answer. When you get out of
Mhm.
America, you get into Europe, Australia, now you're getting actual research documents and published papers. They're brutally boring to read. But if you'll take
Yeah.
the time, eventually you start getting good at knowing where to look and what you're looking for. Uh, that's pretty amazing. Just how they're taking our population. It sounds like conspiratorial. I'm not sure if it is or not, but they're giving us crap food and they're pumping us
Mhm.
full of drugs to try to keep our blood work numbers in the
Yeah.
sweet spot as
I
opposed
have
to
a
just living healthy.
yeah, I have a friend that's from Norway, and she would always talk about how she's like, "Look, half the shit that you guys allow in your food is illegal in Norway."
Yeah, it is.
It's actually illegal in the European Union too,
Yep.
because I talked to a friend from Italy, and look, like Italy is very carb-based culture, right? Pastas and
Mhm.
but they don't deal with anywhere. In fact, I think I could be wrong on this, but I want to say that Italy is like one of the blue zones. There's a section of Italy that's a blue zone, and
Yep.
they're high. They're a typical Mediterranean diet. High fish, lots of pasta and bread. But the difference is that their wheat and whatnot is not bombarded with pesticides
Right.
or genetically modified like it is here.
It is. They eat a lot more protein than people think. I've spent
Yeah.
time in Italy, and we all think of Italy, Italian food is I mean, they serve pasta, that's a little side dish. Like
Right.
if I go to a restaurant, usually it's pretty protein centric, a lot of oil, a lot of fat.
Yep.
And that's where America in the 70s, this whole thing of going low fat, low saturated fat, saturated fat's horrible. It's not. It's,
Mhm.
it's what
Mm-mm.
sustains us. It's what our
Yeah.
bodies are designed to use. And I find when I was in Europe I was in with my boys in Italy, I can eat the bread there, and I mean, it does hit me carb level a bit, but not like here. When I'm
Yeah.
here, if I go off plan, have a little bit of bread, I feel it bad, like my joints.
Mhm.
So there's definitely a big difference. I hope we can get American food, um, our food supply back to something safe.
I agree. I'm hoping
The
RFK
the
can turn that
average the
around.
average shopper is is uninformed,
Mhm.
and as best I can tell, they don't want to know.
Right.
They
Mhm.
don't because they have to change then. They don't wanna change. They wanna just get up in the morning and do what they've always done.
Yep.
And I talked to us like, you know, after the conversation we had last week, why are you still buying that? Some crazy packaged, or going to I was in Starbucks today getting a cup of dark roast coffee with a little bit of heavy cream.
Uh-huh.
It's a milkshake store. It's not a coffee store. Everybody's
Mhm.
getting these mocha frappuccino, these crazy drinks. They're all, 2,000 calories of just crazy levels of sugar. And
And think about that. That one drink is a typical person's daily
should be.
intake of calories.
Yep. Yep. It's
So
when you look at there's a lot of data that, starving populations live longer. Kids that grow up in true famine situations in Africa, they've studied this. Those kids later in life tend to live very long,
Mm-hmm.
and depriving your body of the carbs, or not carbs, the calories. You want to run on the minimum level of calories that you need, because your
Yeah.
body, if your body has unlimited calories, it gets very sloppy and lazy. If your body has limited calories, and the beauty of carnivore is you're burning your fat and then the fat you're eating. Um, but as you know, I'll do the fasting here and there, but your body just becomes very, very efficient, and
Mm-hmm.
your health. I mean, everything. Your immune system, all your systems become really efficient. And I haven't had a cold. I don't get flu shots. I don't do any of that stuff. I haven't had a cold in 3 years of any kind. Flu. I saw an article the other day, just a reference, and it was we don't have they call it the cold and flu season. It's actually between Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. It's the sugar and low vitamin D season.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's driving people? Think winter, everybody gets colds in the winter. But if you live in the Northeast, I mean, we have so many cloudy days here. If you're not taking vitamin D, your body is not running right. And vitamin D is the only vitamin that your body needs it at a cellular level. It's your mitochondria,
Right.
the things that
Right.
actually, they're the ones that establish cellular replication, require vitamin D. And if you're low on it, your whole body doesn't run well. And look at COVID. Now that when you peel back that, the people who died from COVID, vast majority were low in vitamin D, and people that had very
Mm-hmm.
high vitamin D didn't seem to struggle. Like, I had COVID, I didn't even know it. I'd been
Yeah.
traveling, and we went to visit my in-laws, and they were quite old. My wife said, "Take a COVID test. You've been traveling a lot." I said, "Honey, I'm fine." I took a COVID test. It was positive. So I took another one,
Mm.
positive again. But holy crap, honey, I've got no symptoms. And so
Mm.
I've had it at least once,
Right.
um, and didn't even know I had it. But I've been doing ADK, the vitamin. Those three vitamins work well together for almost 3 years now, every day. And
How much vitamin D are you taking per day?
I think the ADK, it's either probably 2,000, or maybe 5,000 units. I have to look at it.
Yeah. I just
Um,
read an article last week that was talking about how uh, we might be underdosing vitamin D
yeah.
with a lot of people because usually what I would do is about 10,000 IUs a day, and that
Mhm.
puts my blood serum levels right at about like 90.
Okay.
And I was always told like never get over 100, but they ran this study and they were giving these people like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D, and their blood serum levels would be, upwards of 2 to 300.
Right.
And they actually showed an improvement in overall health and an improvement in protein synthesis.
Yep.
So I was like, well, damn. So I started doubling my intake of vitamin D. So now I'm taking 20,000 IUs a day.
You
And
take it with anything else?
I'll take it with my food because it's a fat soluble vitamin. So I will take it with my breakfast and then I take it with my dinner.
Because that's the one of the things with ADK is your absorption rate of vitamin D when you've got the vitamin K and the vitamin A. They package those together
Yes.
because your body absorbs it so much more
Right.
efficiently. And that's why
Yep.
I'm not sure, because if I'm taking the little gels, I take two 5,000 units a day if I'm taking those. The 80K, I'm not sure what, I got to look at it because I've been taking those now
Mm.
for a long time. When I do my blood work, my levels are spot on.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I really don't know. But if I stop, like if I'm traveling, if I forget to take it with me or something, like after 2 weeks or so, I've gone 10 days without taking vitamins. I start feeling it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
100%.
it's uh it's the biggest thing for having your vitamins right. It's not that you feel better, it's that you just don't get sick. Or if,
Yeah.
if something happens, my recovery rates on injuries is really fast. I just had my shoulder put back together. I had a
Mhm.
full rotator, and I tore half my bicep. And I wrapped up physical therapy last week, and they're just like, I said, give me all the stuff to do at home. I'll keep working out, but I'm way ahead of where I should be. So
Mm.
yeah. I also do red light therapy. I've got a red light gizmo
That
I put
yep.
on it.
That helps too.
Mm,
Plus the
I
high
think so.
protein content too. High protein helps your body heal. So you're going
Yep.
to heal much faster the more protein you take, which most people do not take enough protein in, like you were saying.
No.
I would be surprised if, because I always tell everyone try and get at least 1 gram per pound of body weight, even if you don't work out. And the older you get, the
Mhm.
more you need because your protein synthesis decreases as you age. Um, and I would be surprised if the average person gets 40 grams a day,
I know.
you know.
Especially and
So if you're a 170-pound male, you're not even getting a fraction of what you need because
no.
people don't understand what protein does with the body.
Yeah.
It's so
They,
beneficial.
it is. And, well, people are just taught wrong. I mean, again, I eat
Yeah.
pure red meat. What people don't realize is red meat has everything in it that your body needs.
Mhm. Mhm.
It has everything in it. I supplement with vitamin D because you need sun, and I get too much shade here.
Yep.
Um, and then I do take salt, a lot more salt, and I'll do some potassium chloride, some a more of
Mhm.
a broader mix of salts. But I'm not.
Mhm.
What about vitamin C? You don't need vitamin C.
Right.
It's. I mean, you get vitamin C in meat, but you get enough.
Right.
So it's. Yeah,
Tom, this was fun, man. I
yeah.
love chatting with you.
It's.
I'm gonna have
Yeah, it has
to
been fun.
I'm gonna have to look your stuff up, because I'm actually looking at getting a gun myself. So, but I want to do some of that training that you were talking about first.
Well, now, where are you located
I'm right
geographically?
outside of Chicago. I'm in Indiana, so I can
Okay.
have guns. I'm not in
Yep.
Illinois because in Illinois you can't have guns.
Yeah,
But
just you want to find a good instructor and get a
yeah,
lot of hands-on and figure out what's best for you. As I tell everybody, because again, owning a gun is a scary thing.
hmm
It's like giving a 16-year-old a car and putting them on a freeway. They don't want to
yeah,
do that. But
right.
if you work them up slowly, next thing you know, they're driving and it's just second nature. That's how you have to be with a handgun. Or if I mean, for home defense, I think a shot for if you're gonna have just one gun, a shotgun is a better choice. An
That's
AR-15
what everyone
is
says
a
to
better,
me.
safer choice.
Yeah.
In the military, you have a handgun to fight to your rifle because your
Mm,
rifle is how you're going to defend yourself.
hmm
Because it's just safer, more proficient, um, easier to use. But
Training's everything. I mean, the
it
ironic
is,
thing is that all of the states that have the strictest gun laws also have the highest murder rates and the
yeah,
highest
they
gun
do.
problems.
There's a lot. That's a whole podcast conversation. Because
Yeah.
the data, when you actually talk about the data and really drill into it, I've had those conversations. I've been labeled a racist. And I'm
Mm,
saying, guys, look, it's not right. This is just statistics. The question that people won't ask is, you see it in Chicago. Why does an
mhm,
intelligent, young African American male turn to deadly force to solve
mhm,
a basic dispute? And that's the
mhm.
question they won't ask. Why are young people turning to deadly force to solve what really comes down to not difficult problems, just situations that they feel are out of
Yeah.
control? And they're focused on the guns are bad. I said,
Yep.
they are, they aren't. That's not the issue. The issue is because they don't have a gun, they'll use something else. Why are people turning to that level of violence to solve or to try to answer questions that should be talked about?
Mhm.
We're losing that. Young people are losing their ability to communicate and express how
That
they
is a
feel.
fact. I
Yeah,
mean, that in itself could be a whole nother podcast because I've talked about this on my podcast as well. I
yeah.
blame COVID because all of those kids that were stuck at home for 2 years, not going to school, these fucking kids do not know how to communicate anymore. They are
No,
so
it's
embedded in their phones.
yep.
They don't know how to solve problems. They don't know how to be resourceful and figure out how to fix things. I mean, it drives me bananas.
It was my youngest was right at that era. He was a junior, senior in high school, but he had a group of like 8 friends, all, and we knew all the parents. And all through COVID, we all, took care of ourselves, monitored. But those kids got together every Friday and Saturday, and sometimes during the week. And we'd pick a house, and they'd all get together and hang out, have some
Mhm.
beers, whatever they were doing. And
Mhm.
so he was able to get together with his friends, and just all of us got together and said, "Guys, look, yeah, this is stupid. We'll just monitor. They're coming to our house tonight. They go to your house." And so he actually got through it where a lot of people were just
Mm.
isolated, and I can't
Yeah, that's
imagine, even the littler kids, the 2 and 3-year
yeah.
olds,
Yeah.
everybody's faces are covered with masks,
Right, right.
and so much of communication is visual, and they lost those developing years of
Mhm.
understanding facial expressions, and I
It's
don't think
funny
you get that back.
you say that. I've got a friend that's she's a therapist slash social worker, and I brought in a conversation one time where I don't remember where I was at, but these parents had this little kid, and they had the noise canceling headphones over their kid. I think they were at I think it was a sporting event, like a school sporting event, and I just thought to myself, I'm like, my God, what are we doing? Like you're now shielding your kid from
Yeah,
noises, like, and then they say, "Oh, they're auditory sensitive," and she said that's the reason why they're auditory sensitive
heck
is
yeah.
because you have blocked them from outside noises, and then you put the face mask on top of it. That's why these kids, like, don't start talking till they're much older, or they act autistic, and even though they're not autistic, right? I
Yeah.
mean, again, we could go into a whole nother podcast
No,
about that.
that's a whole that's well,
Yeah.
I think we're at a point where we're gonna see a big shift in America. I think
Yeah.
most Americans, regardless of where you sit politically or ideologically, I think a lot of people are all fed up with the same things,
Mhm.
and regardless of what the media says, we are all a lot closer than we
Mhm.
have a lot more similarities than we have differences, and I
Yep.
think you're gonna see a big waking up and a changing in America, and the media is either gonna step up and start doing their job, or they're just gonna be gone,
They're gonna
and
be
we're gonna
gone.
have
Yep.
new forms of getting news.
I agree. I
So,
agree.
let's hope.
Tom, thanks for coming on. I
Alright,
enjoyed
man.
part 2, and, we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, let me know. I will, yeah, just let me know if you need a I love I can cover a lot of topics, and it's a good conversation.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Alright, you have yourself a wonderful New Year.